Manchester City back on the winning trail again, bagging four down on the south coast. Let's talk all about it. Let's go Blues. Good evening, good morning. How are we all? Manchester City back on the winning trail. 4-1 down on the south coast. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning. How are you going?
Not bad. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. A little tired. It's early in the morning, but you know, it's going to be a sunny day. Sorry. Oh, it was very busy. I mean, I must admit, I've not been to the UAE before, and it was completely mad. I mean, it really is incredible what has been built and put together, and some of the imagination that's got into it. And but in other ways, you almost can't see a plant or tree in any direction. So it's a strange place. It's kind of like Las Vegas without the seed times 10.
Las Vegas with no seed. That's weird.
Oh, no, it is. It is. And I thought I was about to bump into the Sheikh, actually, but it turned out to be his brother. We all got moved back saying the Sheikh from Abu Dhabi's here. And then we got whisked past, but it was his brother, not him, sadly. So I didn't get to, sing Sheikh Mansour at the museum.
No worries. Oh, Pat's here. Let's bring him in. Morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we?
Not too bad.
So, hey, Rich, welcome back. That was fun times in Dubai.
It was, yeah. It was good. It's a fascinating place, actually.
Yeah, it surprises you. It's more than just a stopover, especially for people from outside the world. You can actually make something of it there for a few days.
Yeah, I was just saying to Martin, I thought I was about to bump into the Sheikh, but it turned out it was his brother.
Ah, right, okay. Couldn't give any inside info or anything. Is Bellingham pretty much a done deal? He doesn't know anything?
He doesn't.
Louis Shakes, good evening to everyone. I'm just going through some comments. Big Morgan team playing for each other at last. There is a God. Big win, best of the season. Brilliant win, says Charlotte. Spados, evening, good win, mate. Phillips and Gomez not good enough. We're going to get into all of that later, as always. I'm not late. We were on time. Bang on time. As always, please give a like to the stream, please, and subscribe. Thank you, mate. City, champions again. Loading. Alec Johnson, good evening, mate. Glad you are happy. But the defence and goalkeeper still issues. I think you're being harsh there. Nothing Edison could do about that goal. Let's all calm down a touch here. There's nothing Edison could do about that goal at all. Martin looking like Rooney. Cheeky sod. Don't you two laugh at that.
Don't let your granny near Martin. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Oh dear. What is the ability to keep a bloody clean sheet? Jesus, can we not have the negativity tonight? We've won 4-1. What's going on? Oh, Jesus. This fan base is going to kill me. It's going to kill me. City win, good enough for me. Rico Lewis was good again. Noah's loving the Yazoo milkshakes. Hello, everyone. Good to see you after such a great performance. Good evening, Adam Quinn. Hope you are well. Anyway, right. So I'm just going to get into, we'll come back to the comments. Do what we always do. We'll go through the teams. And Manchester City were much changed. There were 6 changes today from the RB Leipzig game. So Bournemouth lined up Neto in goal. Smith, back 5 of Smith, Mepham, Stevens, Sensei, Zamora. There was Guattara, Lerma, Billing, and Traore in the middle, with Dominic Solanke as the lone striker. Manchester City lined up with Edison, Nathan Aki, Ruben Diaz, Kanje, Rodri, Alvarez, Gundogan, Rico Lewis came back in, Haaland, Grealish, and Phil Foden. On the bench for City was Walker, Phillips, De Bruyne, Ortega, Bernardo Silva, Gomez, Mahrez, Perón, and Carson. And there was 5 substitutions as well. Rich, what do you think of the team, mate?
Well, I was initially quite excited because I think all season and we've seen it a bit, but not a lot. Foden, Alvarez, Haaland. You know, I like the energy. I like the bit more pace, a bit more movement. So I was pretty pleased to see Foden back. You know, I think there's been a lot of nonsense talked about Phil. I mean, there's been a lot of sense talked about him as well. But, you know, he is, as Pep said, our diamond. He's the player we want to see playing. So him being back, absolutely fantastic. And good to see Alvarez, you know, in the team, because I want to see him get used to it. I want to see him get more time. You know, he's someone who pops up with goals. I mean, his goals per minute must be pretty good for us in the Premier League. And yeah, so I was pretty pleased. You know, hoping, and I knew we weren't going to, but hoping to see John Stones back, hoping to see Laporte get some time. But, you know, it was a solid lineup. And I do think that what we said a couple of weeks ago about Diaz is starting to provide a bit of, you know, a bit of leadership, a bit of character in the team. So I think, you know, seeing him coming in each week at the moment, I think is pretty important.
Yeah, Martin, very happy with the lineup. You know, I would have been more surprised if we didn't see Foden and Alvarez on the pitch. Good opportunity for them to definitely play, as Pep alluded to after the Leipzig game. He said he didn't want to play Foden and Alvarez because they were, if such thing exists, they were too direct, and this was a game for direct players to play. And there's your proof right there. I mean, 3-0 up at half time, and very, very satisfied with everything. And I couldn't really think much better of a lineup apart from maybe Kevin De Bruyne coming back in. But I'm really happy with that. All around on paper it looked good and it reflected on the pitch.
Good. We'll get into the game. Obviously, Bournemouth were going there with a flat back 5. And they weren't really going to. It was, listen, I really enjoyed the game. Now, I don't see it like anybody else. Some people want to call me happy clapper, if I'm totally honest with you. I honestly think that was just the same sort of performances we've been throwing out in the last 2 or 3 weeks anyway. I said against Forest, against RB Leipzig. I don't think we were bad.
In a way, I thought we were better against Forest than Bournemouth. I actually thought attacking wise, we were slightly better against Forest. I mean, Forest was one of those old results where we absolutely outplayed them. We were sloppy in front of goal, or unlucky, or poor at times, and we let them get a silly goal on the break. And we've seen that a lot of times for City. So I thought Forest was one of our best performances in quite a long time. So in a sense, other than obviously the Arsenal performance, but in a sense, that's what happens, isn't it? You play, really well, you don't get the win and everyone's going to moan. You play less well, you win 4-1 and everyone's happy, and that's football.
Yeah, Forest. Yeah, out of these games over the last week or so, the Forest was definitely the most Bertie game, if you want to call it that. But look, I probably agree with you, Rich. I think we were a lot more direct and just dominated in midfield against Forest and that. And this was just as much a dominant game too. But yeah, we just looked a lot more. We just looked better, slightly better.
I think it's one of those. We play that Forest game 50 times again, and we'd win 47 of them. We'd probably drew 2 more. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
Spot on. I've got to say, there was a few standout performances today. We'll get on to Ilkay Gundogan. I thought he rolled back the years today. Thought he was superb. Absolutely superb today, Gundogan. I thought Foden, that's the Phil Foden we need to say we all love. That's the Phil Foden we've been missing. We now need that week in, week out. Alvarez, yes, gave us a lot more impetus. There, you know what I mean? I thought Haaland, again, was far better because, again, he was coming back. He was playing as a team player. He wasn't just the big lamppost stuck in the 6-yard box and wasn't moving. I thought he came back again today. He looked up for it today. He was coming back, winning headers, dropping deeper into midfield, spraying the ball off, making runs. I just thought overall it was a much better team performance. And I said yesterday, someone was going to get a good whipping at some point. Personally, I thought we took our foot off the gas second half.
Yeah, I think we all. I mean, I think we always do. When we're 4-0 up or 3-0 up, or whatever, at halftime, we very, very rarely, even when we're playing someone like United, we take our foot off the gas and we don't go for, 7, 8, 9. The players give themselves a bit of rest in effect. It's probably wise. I know the fans sometimes want to see us just go for it, hell for leather, and try and get 8. But it's probably sensible to conserve energy, make substitutions, and make
another game Tuesday. We're back into this every 3 days routine now.
Yeah,
Champions League's back, so we have got to conserve energy. It was great. The biggest pro to me today was to get Gundogan and Rodri off early.
Yeah. And I really hope that we start Phillips on Tuesday against Bristol. So I hope we
start.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to get accused of bullying.
You can say what you like. Who would you be bullying?
No, I'm going to save it.
You're gonna bully poor Calvin.
I'm not doing it. Because I want to be. I want to be nice. Anyway, let's talk about the first goal. Obviously, scored by our Argentinian Spider-Man himself, Julian Alvarez. Now, what I loved about that goal was it was an Aguero type of goal, back post, Johnny on the spot. And they're the chances we've been missing. recently.
Yeah, I was thinking Sean Goater.
Okay.
Yeah. It was reminding me more of the GOAT than Aguero. Aguero,
I think
quite a high,
crying out loud, Rich.
yeah, quite a high percentage of Aguero's goals were pretty spectacular, smashed in. You know,
No, but he also scored him at the back post off the rebound as well, mate.
Yeah, but not that many. That's more the GOAT style. That's the GOAT.
No, because the goal never came off his foot. Came off his arse or his dick or something.
Alvarez was trying to shin it in and it caught his foot by accident.
Instead of arguing about what sort of poacher's goal this reminds you of, let's talk about how the play first started in the first place, and that really good challenge by Rico Lewis that started.
Yeah.
That was
what a challenge, by the way, by Rico.
Yeah.
That was a take no prisoners and winning the ball at all bloody costs sort of challenge. That
he bossed that. Yeah.
Oh, I loved it. I love that.
But that's the beauty of Rico. I mean, my other favourite Rico moment was when he told Edison off, which I thought was pretty. You know,
I didn't see that.
Edison did one of his, risky passes out to the right, and I think Rico and Rodri and Akanji sort of rescued it and everything. I mean, it wasn't a terrible mistake. And Lewis kind of turned around and shouted and signalled at Edison, which I thought that was pretty good. That shows his mental state for such a young player to do that.
Perone, we'll get on to that. I'm going to settle everyone down on Perone. I've heard the word baller and everyone being made. Played bloody 15 minutes. Can we all calm down here? Let's not suddenly compare him to everyone now. This is what City fans do. We go from A to Z very quickly.
Yeah, but the trouble.
But he looked good when he come on. I will give him that.
Your City fans will write players off for 15 minutes, so it's good to see players being beat. I'd rather see players being the next Pele for 15 minutes in people's mind than listening to how we should never assign them, sell them. We've played 15.
I just thought Rico Lewis gave us that little bit of fight, that little bit of bite, that energy that we've needed. Because he can play that role so good, and you can tell he's played it from the academy so much, and you can tell you can see straight away he's a prospect from the academy. You can see because he's fitted in straight away. There's no adaptation needed because he's played it since he was 7 years old.
Yeah.
This is what people forget. City play these systems from under 7s, under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, under 11s. And for 7 years, Rico's been playing it with Pep.
Yeah, I think when we play that real back three, Rico is standout, the best fullback we've got playing that back three formation. He really is, and I think he'll play in some really big games in the rest of the season because I think he allows us to do that in a way that and in some ways we'll probably see Walker more as a centre back than we will as a right back, maybe from now forward.
And also too with Rico, you couldn't think of a better right back in the league you could be learning from than Kyle Walker. But also too, I think Kyle's going to learn a thing or two from him because he's got a young player next to him who's been brought up in this inverted fullback. And I'm sure Kyle would want to learn a little bit about how he plays it and how it should be played correctly when he's asked to do that.
I'm not sure Kyle's ever going to be able to play that role like that. I just don't think that plays to his strengths, and I don't think I'm not saying he's weak tactically because he's not, but his whole tactical mindset is far more as that much more touchline hugging fullback in a sense who converts to the right centre back when needed to support other players pushing up, but from the right, not from that inverted midfield role. I think Lewis played the other player who played it way beyond their ability in a way was Fabian Delph, who did play that inverted fullback really, really well. There can't be a City fan who wasn't gobsmacked at us being so good with him playing an inverted fullback, left back role when most of us didn't think he was good enough to play for City. And for that Centurion season, he was magnificent. And I think Lewis does that, except for him, it's even more natural and even more embedded. And he's doing it at 20, not at 28.
Yeah, of course. FIFA's gone serious. Perone is world class. He's played 50. Bloody hell. Can we calm down a touch here? How can you tell someone's world class in 15 minutes?
Yeah, I could see Perone and Calvin Phillips in a World Cup final. They're just...
Don't start. Don't you be giving it. Behave.
Mate, there's a reason why he's wearing that 32 shirt. We're seeing a regen of Carlos Tevez.
What? That he's going to shut on the club and leave?
No, on the pitch.
Oh, I thought you meant he was going to go and play golf for 9 months.
Well, he doesn't wear number 32 around the bloody clubhouse, does he?
Who? Tevez?
Perone.
Oh,
yeah, Blue Heart. My dogs were...
I don't forgive things like you do, Pat. I'm not that easy forgivable, mate.
My dogs were my dogs hate Tevez, so we'll have that on the record. But my dogs were saying, Blue Heart, that they thought Alvarez's goal was reminiscent of Niall Quinn, one of his goals with his feet. So interesting. Yeah.
Niall Quinn. Anyway, we'll come off that. Anyway, then we move to the man who has broken Manchester City's all-time season record holder in the Premier League, that is, because Sean Goater did score more, believe it or not. 27 league goals for Erling Braut, Norwegian meat machine Haaland. Now, we talked last night, believe it or not, with Ozzy and everyone else, about Erling Haaland and how do we get him more involved in the game. And we came to the actual consensus that it was going to be a matter of both. We were going to have to get the ball to him more, and he was going to have to do a lot more work. I actually think that worked today. Rich has just gone off screen, sort something out. He'll be back in a minute. I actually thought he did today.
Yeah, man, it was back. The dropping back and supporting the midfield and that it made its return, and it's something we've been asking for a week or two. Glad to see it, and I don't know. I wonder if maybe he's asked to. He has a tendency of doing that depending on who's on the pitch with him. Because we didn't see any of it in Leipzig. Didn't seem to see as much as we should have in against Forest and that. But
I think Foden's the key. And what I mean by that is because you look at him earlier on when he was scoring the hat-tricks at home, Phil Foden was the guy around him.
Yep.
As well as Kevin De Bruyne.
Yep.
It's weird how Foden comes back and suddenly the balls are going into him a lot more.
Yeah. Because I think, we've said Foden's best games this season have been on the right-hand side. He played on the right this game. And I think when Haaland's been accompanied by Phil on the right-hand side, I just think Haaland, more opportunities open up for him because Foden is a more direct player and he's able to get around defences. When he's got Mahrez there, Mahrez doesn't necessarily get around defences as much, and he relies more on, it's more of an aerial game with Mahrez. But I think Phil is, it may not be the key, but he's important to, whether Haaland, continues his goal tally. He's more important to whether Haaland is able to continue his goal tally.
Mm. See, man, you play the ball more directly. I honestly think some of this comes down to the opposition as well. I think sometimes when the opposition sort of try and fill up midfield, it doesn't help us a little bit. But like I said earlier, Ms. Madhar, I think Haaland's got to do a lot more work as well to come back and get more involved in the game. Our system is not suited for a 9 who just stands there in the box and doesn't move.
No.
Our system is for the 9 to come back and be involved. Go back and watch Forest, go back and watch Villa, watch Arsenal especially, and watch today. Haaland's coming back more. He's getting involved. Against Leipzig, he went back to just standing in the goal area and not budging.
it's almost like he wants his number 9 to play like a false 8.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Weird. Yeah. It sort of is weird a little bit in terms of that thing. But what I've got to get out of Haaland now is Haaland's got to do that every game. He can't pick and choose his games when he wants to come and get involved. Now, whether Alvarez there helps him, I don't know. The problem we're going to have with Alvarez is who do you drop? Because we ain't going to drop KDB forever. KDB is coming back in.
But we're not going to play him every 3 days either because, age will get in the way.
No, but what I'm saying is Alvarez is not going to play every single game, Pat.
No.
Whether we like this or not, he's not.
Well, not now. Not now.
No, and that's what I mean. He's not. So it's all right everyone going, well, Alvarez was the thing. Play him every game. Well, no, that isn't going to happen. So we've got to find another way of doing it as well.
Yeah.
Is Bernardo Silva going to be on the bench every game? No, because we rotate. This is what we do. I'm not saying Phil Foden's going to play every single game. We've got that much talent going forward. Mahrez missed out today. Grealish may miss out a game. This is what I'm saying. So this is why Pep gets paid the bloody money that he does. I suppose. Thought Phil was much better today. For me, the team, 100% Phil was on it. But that's what we've got to see now every single game, Phil Foden like that. We need Phil Foden like that. I mean, the goal for Haaland, it was a typical Haaland finish. It was great. Ball comes at Gundogan. Lovely play. Ball across. Foden.
I think it was smart from Foden because he had that defender bearing down on him, and instead of going for the
awareness.
The awareness, knowing where Haaland was, So I think Phil deserves as much credit for that as Haaland was to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, Phil definitely looks for Haaland. We saw it against Forest where, and it probably didn't work that time, but he's a player who really looks for Haaland, really looks to set him up, looks for the opportunity rather than taking a half chance himself. So I think that's a good thing. It shows his unselfishness as a player.
See, I don't believe that fully, Madata, because he made Aguero do that. And when Haaland looks better is when he isn't just stood in the box waiting. Haaland looks best when he's mobile.
Martin, if you go back to Pep's first season, there was talk of he wanted to have Aguero a bit more involvement in the game and dropping back to midfield. And
they fell out, didn't they?
I think they fell out. Yeah, they did fall out over it too. But I think as fans, we kind of missed it a little bit because obviously the big thing that we were lacking was speed on the wings. Because we were using like Zabaleta and Clichy and Kolarov, and teams were just burning us. Especially in the second half of the season. So it kind of went a little bit under the radar, and it wasn't until we started getting the speedy fullbacks in that we could see the system sort of working. It probably wasn't really until Formidable season that we started to see Aguero be fully effective in dropping back to midfield. So because we've seen this happen before, I think it's a lot more noticeable now with Haaland. So it's something that he's going to learn because it was never in his game when he was at Dortmund or at Salzburg. So. Again, coming back to what we've said for weeks on end, it's all this, transitioning on the fly, and Haaland's only going to learn with every game that he plays. So, again, if we see glimpses of it, it just means that we're going to see a lot more of it in the second season, and if anything, we're going to be a lot more effective. And a lot of those results that should have ended up in 3 points, or those 1 pointers that should have been 3 pointers, we're going to see them being. We're going to see less 1 point matches next season. I think we're going to be. You're going to be a lot more effective in attack.
Yeah, 100% for me. It was just. I mean, do you know what was so nice today? You get to half time and the game's over. Because at 3-0, the game is done. Bournemouth aren't coming back at that point. And the third goal by Phil. So I thought it was a lovely finish, and I thought it was so important for him to get it. And he's still had a lot to do. Some people think that's an easy goal, but when you've got a defender bang next to you, going at you, to get the composure, the control, the run, and to get the shot off in that way, I thought shows that he is coming back to somewhat at the moment.
It was the control too, because he was kind of falling over as he hit it.
It was a mad finish because he hit it left-footed when it was. It was obviously a right-footed finish. I mean, it was for every reason, it was a right-footed along the ground finish, and he somehow did it as a left-footed, hitting it up a bit finish. So it was a brave one. I don't know whether that was because of the falling and a bit of the losing balance, but it was a funny finish, but a very good one, but a high risk.
Alex put Gomez great. I mean, we're going to get on to the second half. I mean, obviously, we go in at half time 3-0 up. And then Pep. Was Pep making a point today with the subs, do you think? Or do you think he was just doing it because we were 3?
I think when he feels a game is done, he makes subs. When he thinks a game is done, you even saw it against, say, United early in the season. When he thinks a game is won and there's no comeback, he will make 5 subs. When he thinks the game's live, he only makes subs if he thinks tactically we need to change or someone's having a mare or there's an injury. When the game's won, he makes subs to get people gaming their legs and to rest players.
Some people are disputing about Grealish. Phoebe said Grealish better. Scott said non-existent.
Well, Grealish was quiet in the first half. I just think he just didn't get the service. You watch the game and you felt like it was like several minutes in between each touch that he had. Whether that was going forward or whether it was tracking back to to receive the ball from defenders and that too. But he was just quiet because he just didn't seem to get an awful amount of service. That's just how I saw it.
I was quite happy. I mean, maybe I'm in the minority, and I think I am. I'm quite happy with Grealish at the moment. I think Grealish brings us the control and the consistency that is required. I know people are begging for assists and goals. I think that he's getting better. Could he do more? Yes. But I think he gives us that calmness. Every time Pep talks about Grealish's calmness, control, it's always the same adjectives that are coming out of Pep's mouth to describe Grealish. And I think, and then when you hear him talk about Phil, it's more panic, direct, needs to calm down. But Pep has never said don't be direct. This is where the difference is where people are thinking. What Pep wants is directness at the right time. There's the right time for it. Don't think Pep's ever saying don't be direct at any point in the game. Pep's saying it, don't just do it for the sake of doing it. Do it when you feel the time is right. I think that's where people are getting a bit confused. And sometimes if you've got a midfield of 5 or 6 in front of you or a flat back 8, it's not that easy. People said, we'll throw a ball over the top to Haaland. You're taking a gamble with that because if Haaland doesn't control it, you're giving possession away straight away.
Yeah. And that applies to everything, Martin. I mean, I think everyone talking about whether Haaland should be dropping back. When you're playing against a flat back 10 and you're in their court the whole game, there's nowhere to drop back to. So, and I think that's much the same with the directness. If we have the ball in the final quarter the whole time, there's no real. I mean, directness is all about one pass and a run over 10 yards. It's not about the whole team being direct and flying from the back. And I think, and that was true a lot of this game. There was a lot of passing the ball around in the midfield in the sort of third quarter of the pitch, with all 11 Bournemouth players the other side of it. So, and not pressing that aggressively. So in that sense, what is directness there? The only thing that directness is there is humping a long Jack Charlton Wimbledon style ball into the box and hoping you get a header to it. So, and I don't think Pep does want that sort of directness. We get to play direct in the way that a lot of our fans talk about only when we're playing a team like Arsenal who goes at us.
Pat, what do you think on that?
Sorry, I forgot the question.
Go on, Rich.
You talk about on the screen, Phillips?
No, I'm talking about you making that comment. I wanted Pat to grab his opinion on it.
Well, just the directness of, that you can't be direct if you're in the final quarter the whole time.
Well, no, I mean, didn't the Leipzig game sort of prove that for what Pep said? He didn't. Well, he had the players to play directly, but he didn't have the players to have control. So, with Bournemouth, we could allow ourselves to be more direct because, just because it allows us to team at the bottom half of the table. So, for that reason, it was just at the end of the day, it was a smart game because we played direct, we were effective, we got the 3 goals in the first half, and then we're allowed to go back to a matter of control and dropping down a few gears for the second half. And again, I've said before, Pep's playing chess, not checkers. So he's always thinking 2 steps ahead.
Pep changes when we're winning, but doesn't change when we're losing. No, I don't see. I think Scotty Moore, what he does is he changes when we're not in control.
Yeah, like Chelsea, we made 2 half.
We weren't in control.
Yeah, we weren't in control. He didn't like the way we were playing tactically, and he wanted to change the game. But if we are playing in control, we're just not scoring. Even if we're 1-0 down, if he thinks
okay with that,
we're the better team, we're controlling, he'll leave it. He doesn't change the game unless there's a tactical or, if someone's having a mare, a player, or if someone's injured, obviously. But otherwise, he changes usually when we're 3 goals up. Obviously, that 3-goal margin is when he feels confident. He changes when that happens, and he changes to rest players and to give players game time.
Some people are talking about Declan Rice. Declan Rice is staying in London. He'll go to Arsenal, he'll go to Chelsea. Apparently, he wants to stay in London. And Declan Rice. Why would Declan Rice come to City? Because he's not gonna play back up to Rodri.
Yeah,
I mean, and he's not going to rotate the Rodri either. So
I just don't see.
Double pivot all of a sudden.
Yeah, we're not going to double pivot up. So no, Rice to City's not even on the cards.
If we ever, if we decide at some point that Phillips isn't the backup player, I'd want a player who offers something different. To me, Rice is just someone who's slightly worse at everything than Rodri, and it doesn't really, he's a very good footballer, so is Rodri, but I'd want to have, and maybe, Rice is slightly better, at some aspects defensively. I'm not really sure about that, but I want a player who's different, who offers something different, and it is in that more, Fernandinho mold, a bit more aggressive, a bit more pace, a bit more energy, a bit more defensive. That's what we need as backup for Rodri, someone who offers something a bit different.
Not going to bring up the Lavia conversation again.
Behave. Well, we did make obviously changes. As we know, Rodri and Gundogan went off just after, very early in the second half. Gomez and Phillips came on. Okay.
Just positives with Phillips, mate. Just only allowing positives.
Yeah, let's start with Gomez. I'm trying not to say certain stuff. Is Sergio Gomez a Manchester City player, Rich? And don't go yes because he played for City today. I don't mean that. Let's not be facetious. Is he a man? Can you see him being a Manchester City player for much longer?
He doesn't look to me to have the quality that, say, Zinchenko does to have that role. But he's not terrible. I think he could play in the Premier League, but whether he's got the real quality, the intelligence of play and quite the versatility of like Zinchenko, who, he seemed to be the player who came in to fill Zinchenko. I'm not sure he's quite that adaptable. I mean, he doesn't, he's not terrible, but, he's a player, if he plays for City, he's going to be like 21 or 22 of a 25-man squad and only come in very occasionally.
Pat?
Not yet. Whether that's been loaned out somewhere, I'm not too sure. But I think Sergio Gomez is one of these work in progress sort of players. Not just to play at City, but I think to play in England in general. He's a young raw talent. I don't feel comfortable playing him certainly not playing at left back because his defensive game isn't there. He has versatility. He's a very good. So he can become a very good utility player, but he's a long way off from any sort of rough comparisons to a previous utility player, as Rich alluded to in Zinchenko. So he's a work in progress, and I think he's some sort of long-term solution that could possibly work. But I feel like in going towards the immediate future, I think he needs to be loaned out for at least a season somewhere. Whether that's another team in the Premier League or maybe even the Championship. I don't know.
I think the other thing, if we're honest, we've signed some players, over the last 15 years and last 5-10 years who've been absolutely world-class players who haven't hit the ground running for City. So, I don't think even if we sign top players, I don't think they're going to come in and necessarily look like they really fit in. So for a young lad who's just played, pretty much in the Belgian league, to expect them to come in and look like a City player is a big ask, because players like Cancelo have come in and didn't look like they were ready for it straight away. I mean, even David Silva at the very beginning, one of, if not our greatest ever player, didn't fit in and show on day one. We've had some I think Yaya and Aguero pretty much from the first minute on the pitch looked like they were, destined for that level at City, but plenty take time to fit in. So I don't think we should write him off. But that said, it's hard in the second half of a season when you're playing for multiple trophies to give a player like Gomez the time or the chance to start to fit in, because it's too risky and you can't afford to do it. And that's the Calvin Phillips problem as well. He's played about 2 hours of football, but how many games are we going to have a chance to actually give him any meaningful game time to actually learn?
I will answer that. AJ, thank you for your super chat, mate. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All super chats, if you do want, because I'm trying to whiz through the comments, there's loads of. If super chats are open, if you want to desperately get a question answered, we will do. All the money goes back into the channel, not on Rich's Beer Fund. Only difference between Zinnet and Gomez is experience.
That's just not right. Zinny, whether we like it or not, which we probably don't as much now, he's at Arsenal, had a real mental, view of the game, and he was able to pick up the ball in defence in really huge games, really massive, huge European games, huge league games, and actually have the composure to make high risk, high quality decisions and passes. And so I think Zinchenko showed even early on that he had mentally and in composure terms a level that is higher than a lot of players at City who we may rate more than we did Zinchenko. So I don't think there's anything I've seen from Gomez that says he's got that kind of quality and composure that Zinchenko did. There's other aspects of Gomez's game that he can probably match Zinchenko, but I don't know. There's that kind of composure that Zinchenko had, which I think Rico Lewis has. I don't know that you can train that, and I'm not sure Gomez will ever have that.
I think the concern for me is in the summertime we're going to buy players, and I look with players coming in. I think there'll be players going out, and I don't see where Gomez fits in, especially if we're going to continue with this back three. I don't see where Gomez fits with his back three at all if we continue to do it, unless you're going to bring him in and put him into midfield.
But we're only going to have a couple of roles for that kind of young player. Doesn't play that much, even in midfield, and so Gomez is going to be up against Perron, McAtee, Palmer. He's going to be up against them, and we'll probably decide to keep one or two of them.
They're all coming back.
But, yeah. But I would say at the moment, I mean, it's hard to say on Perron. We haven't seen that much, but the fact that he was a Pep signing and, more natural in that position, that suggests that he'd be ahead of Gomez. McAtee, if he continues to develop, you'd say, ahead of Gomez. So in terms of that young, versatile midfield player, I think Gomez will be down the pecking order.
That's my only thing with Gomez. I look at it and I think, where does he play like part? I don't know where he goes. With Calvin Phillips, he's a backup to Rodri. I know where he goes. Gomez, I don't know where he goes. I'm stuck with him. Because everyone going, well, as a left back. Well, Bernardo Silva's gone to left back before him. That tells you everything you need to know. He has put Bernardo Silva before him.
Yeah. And Gomez's only role, and his role was to play the Cancelo role, to play the inverted 10. A fullback who doesn't actually do any fullbacking, but goes up into 10. And, if we're going to go with this 3 at the back, then, why on earth would you start Gomez ahead of Rico Lewis? You wouldn't. I
don't want to say that. I don't want to say make this a bang on him, because there were other subs. Calvin Phillips, what did we think when he came on? Because there's been a lot of, especially from me, there's been a lot of, and maybe I've been a bit unfair because, like you said, first season needs time. Did anyone see anything today where you thought, yeah, this is a player? Start with you, partner. Because he had 40 minutes today, good as.
The first few minutes, no. I think it was that challenge where he got the yellow card gave me a little bit of concern, because I thought, given the lack of game time and the lack of form, he could have easily got a second yellow, where that could have come from somewhere. But as the game progressed, he sort of just got into the swing of things a little bit. Still a bit of cause for concern, just with his style of play. But I think also too, it's reflective on the fact that Pep only feels comfortable putting him on the pitch when we're 3 or 4 goals to the good. So that still leaves me with a little bit concerned as well.
I think we're saying he hasn't had a season. He's had a couple of weeks to get used to City, because he's been, with 6-7 months since he signed, he's been injured for 5.5 of them, or off at the World Cup. So this isn't even a question saying he needs a season to get into it. The unfortunate thing is his injuries mean if he needs a season to get into it, that season's probably next season, which is, is the problem, because he's going into the hardest position in City's team. He's going into play for Rodri.
Demanding, yeah.
And Rodri, aside from whatever we think about Edison, Rodri's the name on the team sheet that is there every week, regardless. He is the key player in the team, and Phillips is going in to play that role. That would be huge for any player in world football to come into that role, and then to come into that role, spend 80-90% of the time injured. That's an immense problem. Well, Sean Fogarty.
I'm looking at
it's actually an interesting point. It's actually an interesting point. If we want to get Phillips used to playing for City, it would be easier and less risky to play him at centre back as one of the back 3. That would be far less risky. Yeah. But I'm saying for the rest of the season, Phillips is only going to show whether he's good enough for City if he gets a prolonged period of fitness and if he gets decent amount of football. We cannot do that in the second half of the season. Maybe Bristol City we can. Maybe we can do that against Bristol City. Maybe if we win the first leg of a Champions League game 4-0, we can do it. Maybe when we're up 3-0 in the Premier League, we can do it. But generally, he is not going to get that game time he needs until Japan or Thailand in the summer tour.
But this is what Andrew just got here, Rich.
Yeah.
I like Phillips. Talks about his personality, good guy. We don't doubt. But he needs to run the games. He ain't going to get it with Rodri bang in front of him. Because we're about to hit the business end of the season.
Yes, no, he won't now.
He's not going to play games.
Yeah. He won't now. If he's going to get a run of games, it's going to be next season at the beginning of the season if he hits the season fully fit. Or even if Rodri got injured today, I suspect we'd play Gundogan ahead of him, in that role, because Pep knows that Gundogan.
Yeah, I get that.
3 seasons ago, Gundogan was able to play that role and win as a league. So I think that Phillips needs to get as many minutes on the pitch as a substitute. He might even start at the back. We might see that. And then next season, at the beginning of the season, he needs to get some game time, and that's the reality.
Yeah, by the way, please be safe, mate, while you're driving, mate. No worries. Be safe. Pat, it probably seems I'm being harsh, and if I am, I apologise. I'm not trying to be harsh on Phillips. My issue with Phillips is he's 27 years old, and he is a backup to Rodri. And I know when he signed for City, he will know that. I get that. But he's coming into part of his career now that he isn't going to be happy just to sit on a bench forever. That isn't always going to be the case. At the moment, he knows Rodri's bang in front of him, and he probably knows that. So 2 questions. A, why sign for City if you know you have a world-class guy in front of you at 26, 27? And 2, are we saying the players thought he could out Rodri out? Do you understand what I'm saying? I loved his signature. I'm just a little bit...
Martin, footballers have immense confidence in their own ability. So Phillips would have been signing for City because he thought he could compete with Rodri for the spot. I don't think he necessarily thought he could in the first season. But you look at it from Calvin Phillips' point of view. He's had, some very good seasons for Leeds and England. He wants to play at the top of football. He wants to win trophies. He wants to win things. He wants to show he's an elite footballer, and that's what is needed for him. So why wouldn't you take that risk?
I'm just wondering if Alec Johnson was pretty sarky with Don't You Just Love This Show. Let me know, Alec, if we've done something wrong, mate. No, like people are going, like people have said here, he needs time. I am with all that. I'm willing to give him another chance. Yeah, not that my opinion bloody matters whatsoever to anyone. But at the end of the day, it's okay, another year. I'm probably fair. I give everyone a year. But he's 28.
But I mean,
FIFA's put he'll be world class in 4 years. That's 31.
Reality is, even if people said, let's write off Phillips and get someone else in, we'll have exactly the same problem with them.
That's why I'm saying this. We ain't getting Declan Rice. Declan Rice ain't coming in.
He's not going to be playing enough. Yeah, he's not going to be playing enough. If you sign a player, that's going to cost the money Rice has, they have to be able to play 8 or 10 as well as 6, because they're not going to get the games and the big games they want competing for Rodri unless Rodri gets injured.
This is exactly, and then we're right back in the Sterling Jesus situation, because it's fine. I think for a year, Calvin will be all right. I've had injuries. I'll sit this one out for a year and I'll prove it next year. But I think if he's still in this position this time in the years, if we hit the January window next season and he's still back up, I think there'll be murmurings of him saying, I need to go now. I can't play back up forever.
If he's fit and he's been fit for 6 months, and in January, I agree. If he's been there from July to January, yes, he'll want out. But I think that, well, I mean, what's that current? Casemiro's clear of Phillips. Well, Casemiro's, won 5 Champions Leagues playing for Real Madrid in centre midfield as a holding midfielder. I mean, of course he's clear of Calvin Phillips. I mean, that's like saying, Johan Cruyff's clear of Jordi Cruyff. I mean, obviously Casemiro's been one of the greatest, top 10 defensive midfielders in world football the last decade. He's up there with players like Fernandinho and, Kante, and Phillips isn't. But Phillips is a backup. Phillips is a backup to Rodri. Casemiro isn't going to.
That's what I'm saying.
Not going to have a Casemiro playing backup to Rodri.
Everyone we've signed, anyone who's come in as backup has tended to be younger or at the end of the career. Calvin Phillips
or stepping up massively.
Okay, yes, but that's what I mean. They're either younger and stepping up. Greeley from Villa is in the team. Mahrez from Leicester was in the team. Everyone who's come have gone into the team. Stones from Everton into the team.
But there's a big I think there's a big difference, and that this is the unfortunate thing for Calvin Phillips is Rodri is the centre of that football team. He's playing a position that is unique in the team. He's playing right in the heart of midfield. He's linking defence, midfield, and attack. He's playing that role in the centre. If Mahrez comes in, we rotate the right and left forwards. We rotate fullbacks. We rotate.
Don't seem to rotate the DM.
2 things we don't rotate is Rodri and Ederson.
Yeah.
When you look at our team, they're the ones, and because they're by far the hardest position to rotate. By far the hardest position to rotate because that's the centre of the team. So, in a sense, maybe if we did have Casemiro at City, like if we had Rodri and Fernandinho when he was in his prime, not the last year or 2, maybe we would rotate that position. But I think rotating that position is a fundamental change to the entire team, which you just don't get if you rotate. Same with goalkeeper. You rotate goalkeeper, you fundamentally change the whole setup and the whole way the team plays.
Yeah,
and I think that's the challenge. And, and that's why in some ways, we desperately need someone who can rotate with Rodri just because of injuries and fitness and everything else. But it's really tough. It's a really tough goal.
Are we talking a lot of guff, or is it? Tell us, because Michael Joseph probably thought he was going to start against the weaker teams, such as Bournemouth, Southampton, etc.
Yeah, rightfully so. If he had a clean injury record this season, but going back to your question that you alluded to first was, I think Calvin Phillips was signed, because he wants to go and play for the top teams and prove himself too. But I think also when he understood his place in the team as well, I think it was more a case of he wanted to compete alongside or with Rodri just as healthy competition. I don't know if we want to use comparisons because there's a difference in age, but I remember before Claudio Bravo came to Manchester City, there was a lot of competition at Barcelona between him and Ter Stegen for the goalkeeping role. And it was healthy competition because both of them, when they played, they were in good form. Back then, this is when Barcelona had Messi, Suarez, Neymar up front.
Except it almost wasn't a competition. It was one of you plays in Europe, one of you.
Yeah, one of them played in Europe.
Yeah. Some played Spain, some played La Liga, some didn't. But
Bravo,
I think it was
that part. Bravo went, I'm not having this anymore. I want to play because as much as we all sit there and we go, players want to play Bournemouth.
Yeah, but I mean,
do you remember Spencer Pryor when we had on last year? And he said live to us, and you might have heard this as well, Pat. The difference is players don't want to play against Fulham. They don't want, with respect, Bristol City in the Cup.
Yeah.
They want Real Madrid in the semi-final of the Champions League. That was Sterling's issue. Sterling's issue wasn't playing games. It was the games he played in.
Yeah. And I think there's one other massive point on Phillips that we're probably missing, which isn't his fault, and that is that bringing him in, if we were playing at our absolute peak across the pitch and we were like rock solid at the back and we had prime De Bruyne and Bernardo every week and everything, bringing Phillips in would not be that much of a, it would be quite easy to do. And we probably thought at the start of the season it would be easy to do. At the moment, we haven't played anywhere near our best for nearly all of this season. We're second in the league, which means that we can't afford to drop points. We can't afford to take a chance and drop points. And therefore, bringing in Phillips is a far, far harder thing to do than if it was, three of the last or a couple of the recent seasons where we might be comfortably 5 clear. We might have everyone playing really well. And therefore bringing in Phillips is a lot easier. It's just until we get that breathing space, until we get ahead of Arsenal with a game in hand on our side, not theirs, until we start playing well and getting results 3, 4, 5 times on the trot, it is a massive risk. And, and that isn't Phillips' fault. That's the whole club's fault for not being, quite at our peak this season.
Do you remember, Pat? We talked about this with Cole Palmer. No, with Delap. Do you remember when we said Delap was injured at the wrong time last season? And then when he came back, the season was already at a point where we can't really throw you in now. Because
point of no return.
We missed all the early games. It's sort of been and gone, and we've done it. We can't.
It was like they tried to bring him back away at Sporting Lisbon in the round of 16 or something like that, and it was just
Yeah, but that's the problem now. Against Red Bull, slip up, we're out. Against Bristol City, slip up, we're out.
There's just too much at stake to be. Yeah, there's just too much at stake to be dabbling around with
even in the Premier League. In the Premier League, if we beat Arsenal, we can afford to lose a couple of games, maybe 1 or 2. And still win the league. But we can't afford to go and just throw away 3 points in a risk. So, that's the sad reality. I think the only way Phillips probably gets any significant game time this season is if we have Rodri and Gundogan both get injured.
Cake is on loan somewhere, FIFA. I can't remember where
he's back in Brazil.
Back in Brazil. Isn't he our team in Brazil?
Yeah, he's at Bahia.
Yeah.
Okay. We got the 4th goal, Alvarez. It's gone down as an own goal. The shot was off target, but, you still got to be there to get it. Can I ask? Because I was very impressed with Bournemouth second half. I want to give some praise to Bournemouth here. Because whatever Gary O'Neill said to them at half time, I thought it gave them a lot more impetus going into that second half. They came out with a bit of pride, a bit of fight. It was, and I've seen some people in here think, well, City were poor defensively and everything else. We made 5 changes. And this was always, we talked about this, Pat, especially last week, make changes. And Pep's always said, while I've got control, I don't want to make changes. And to me was the perfect example of that today. I personally think too many changes were made. Because I thought rhythm.
But it depends what you think of the change. If the changes are being made to rest players' legs, because ultimately, if you go and rest your players like Rodri and Gundogan, that means they can start a game in the next week or 2 that they wouldn't otherwise have been able to start if they'd stayed the game. So actually, does it matter if we're 4-0 up? Like when we were, 5-1 against United or whatever it was, or was it 6-1? Ultimately, if we then make 5 changes and we win 4-1, not 6-0, it's not going to make any difference to the season. But having Rodri and Gundogan available for games in 2 weeks' time that they might otherwise not be fit enough to start could make a huge difference in the season. So ultimately, I don't care. Of course, we're going to lose control, but that's absolutely inevitable. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether we won today 3-0, 4-1, 7-0. That's not going to change anything this season.
But every time we concede a goal, everyone hits the panic button now.
Well, they need to conceding a goal.
We're going to get a rich run. We're going to get
no. But it's all about.
We could have conceded that goal 7-0 up, but
it's all
the
about
reaction would
context.
still be the same.
It's all about context. That a goal, when you concede a goal at 4-0, it in itself, that goal will make no difference to the season. Giving a rest to Gundogan or Rodri could be the difference between winning or losing a Champions League, because having them fit in a semi-final or not having to rest them is the difference between winning something. Winning 6-0 or 4-1 today will not make any difference to this season. So let's be quite clear. It doesn't matter on the scale of the season if we lose control. And it's disappointing because we want to see the players come in, show that they deserve to be picked and play better. So we want to see, players come on and really show what they're capable of, but it doesn't matter. So, I think anyone worrying about that is worrying about the wrong things. What matters is the context of a goal. We concede that goal against Forest. That mattered. That was a goal with that was a goal that could cost us a league. We could lose the league by 1 point, and that goal at Forest cost us a league. That goal today, absolutely irrelevant. And people need to learn that context. And you cannot expect players to be defending with their lives and with the diligence at 4-0 up as they will if they're 1-0 up. And that is also...
It matters to Edison.
Well, that's because he might want his golden gloves. He might feel under pressure because of all the whinging about it.
He's on 99. He's on 99 Premier League clean sheets.
Pat, I was going to call you Pep then. Was it me or did Pep look quite pissed off when that goal went in?
Yeah, he got out of his chair. He got out of his chair.
Looked really peeved, like he just sat there and went, "Nah, I'm in this." Nah. And I don't blame Edison. Anyone who wants to blame Edison for that, go and give your head a wobble. It was a great finish by Lerner. Ruben Diaz, what he was doing, I don't know. This is my issue with Diaz. It was partly his fault and Walker today. Walker and Diaz had a bit of a mare in that 30 seconds. But I think because of the amount of changes that are going on, I think it just unsettles and you lose that control again. And I know, Rich, I get it, it doesn't. But if you look, every time we've made sub, when we're all comfortable, we can see 2 or 3 silly little goals. United, for example, today, other game, it's just what we do because the control goes. When you make 5 changes, of course the control's going to go. And that is what will piss off. God, I cannot speak tonight. Rich will be back in a minute. Pat.
Yep.
Help me out. I can't speak. My bloody words are going.
He did seem frustrated about that goal being conceded. But look, I think conceding a goal, when you think about it, we conceded that goal roughly around the same period of the game as we did against Forest. Now, I don't know if anybody sees the parallels between those two matches, but the simple fact of the matter is that, we played the football against Forest that should have bagged us 3 goals by half time. The difference is we did it against Bournemouth. And the simple fact of the matter is that we put ourselves in a position where we could if we lost control, we weren't going to lose control of possession or lose control of our game plan. We didn't lose control of the game itself. That's the difference.
I'm not sure. I thought we were having a dodgy 10 minutes then.
We are having a dodgy 10 minutes because we effectively had the same lineup out there as what we did when we lost to Southampton.
But that's my point. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We lost control.
Yeah.
This is what Pep means when he said the other day about Leipzig. When they conceded, we'd lost control. He was going to look to bring Foden and Alvarez on, but then we got control back.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to be careful at this substitution debate sometimes because you've got to look in the context of the game. We're in control. It's not going to make the change.
Yep.
If we are For example, if we were playing like we did in the last sort of 20 minutes, in the first 20 minutes, Pep would have been really miffed and would have made changes. Because then we would have had no control. Forest, we were in total command of the game. There was no need to make subs at that point. And I think this is what fans need to realise when they're talking about substitutions. Sometimes you can make substitutions like today, where you're just throwing bodies on for the sake of bodies on, and bang, you lose control for the last 10, 15, 20 minutes. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. But I think...
I don't know. It's such a difficult thing. It really is. Because everyone's a bloody backstage manager. Everyone's a tactical analysis guy. Everyone's Pep's assistant.
Everyone wants Stones and Diaz levels of defence like we had from 2 seasons ago. Yeah.
And everyone's conceding this year. Everybody's conceding.
Yep.
It's a funny old thing at the minute. Perone, maximum Perone we got to see. Now, I've heard things from baller, world class, amazing. Tell you what, some of these fans are scouts and they've seen world class players in 15 minutes. He did very well, but I'm not at the world class stage. Oh, baller. What did you think?
Oh, mate, what a baller.
Oh, piss off.
Carlos Tevez regen.
What off again?
I don't know. I think he played okay for his debut. I think he played all right. He did seem to play comfortably with Alvarez, alongside him. I think just that Argentine connection sort of helped him a little bit. And I think going forward, I think it's safe to say that those two are going to be pretty much joined at the hip for the rest of the season. While not just while they're familiar with each other, being fellow countrymen, but also to just probably, I don't know. I think off the pitch, they'll certainly spend a lot of time, just sort of confiding in each other, learning to adjust to the English way of life and things like that too. So. I think as much as we're talking about, it's going to take time to bed Perone in, it's still going to take a lot of time to bed Alvarez in as well too. So let the young men just go about their ways and let them learn to adjust to the English life as well as English football, and hopefully the results will come on the pitch. I mean, we can't make too much of Perone as a player just for 15 minutes coming on when you're 4-0 up. But that's there's promise there, and let him continue. I hope Pep continues to put him in the right positions at the right time in the right period of the game. If there's another 3-0 lead at Bristol, then bring him on. A 4-0 lead, anything like that, bring him on. Let him play. Let the young man play.
In control. What game do you mean, Scotty Mo? Because Forest, we were creating chance of the chance, mate. I'm excited by Perone. Perone looked good. I'm with Blue Out. He's been here 2 minutes. I think you're only going to see him when you're 4 or 5-0 up.
That's the sensible way to bet him in. Don't ask too much of him for such a young man. First time in a new country, playing football in a new country.
No, I'm not saying it because I don't want to give him credit. He did very well when he come on. What I'm saying is, to call him a baller and world class is a little bit OTT for me when he's played 5-10 minutes.
That's the sort of thing Reds do.
Yeah, but when the game's at 1-1 or 2-1 and you bring him on and he does something, then yes. When you're 4-0 up and the game's dead and buried, big difference then. It's a nice time to come in anyway. I'd be more worried if he hadn't come on. I was excited to see him. That's what I'm saying. 6 years Madrid getting 420 million. Rich, maximum Perone, what did you think?
He looked like a slightly better Gomez. I mean, he touched the ball nicely.
Jesus, we weren't that bad, Rich.
Well, no, but I mean, we're talking about a player who came on for 15 minutes when the team had the gas off and made a few nice touches. But, I'm not going to draw any conclusions from that either way. Like, I wouldn't draw any conclusions, on any of the players who come on when we're 4-0 up and we're cruising out. So I think I'll judge him when I've seen him start a game and how he looks when he's played 90 minutes in a game that when there's jeopardy, because football at 4-0 up is not the same game as when it's 0-0. And that's what's impressed about Lewis, is that Lewis has come in starting games when everything's on the line and done brilliantly. Perron
doesn't even start against Bristol, in my opinion.
Yeah,
he comes on if we're 3-0 up. Yeah.
We're going to move to Bristol. I don't know how long you two have got, but we're not actually going to do a Bristol preview.
Yeah, I've got plenty of time. I'll have to pop off for about 3 minutes.
All right, well, what we'll do is
but apart from that, I can keep
out of the match, and then we'll talk Bristol. We're not going to do a separate Bristol preview. There's no point, because it's not going to be a massive let's get out. I want to have a break for a couple of days, if I'm totally honest with you. So we'll talk about it tonight. I've been going hard for the last 2 weeks, so I would like a couple of days with my family. If you don't mind, though, we'll be back Tuesday night. But man of the match today for you, Rich, before we move on to Bristol.
Yeah, maybe it's heart overhead, but I'm going to go for Phil. I thought he was back, he was moving, he was going well and starting to do what I see. So I'm going to go for Foden.
Yeah, Phil for me. I can't really see anybody else that had a better performance or impacted the game more than he did.
But I spent a lot of time watching him, so there's probably other players who played pretty well, but I didn't pay too much attention to them. I'm
going Ilkay Gundogan.
Yeah, no, he dominated the start of the game. He did. He had a bit of a David Silva about him. Not.
And you're going to think that's mad playing 50 odd minutes, but. Oh. Rich at the minute he's playing on camera, off camera.
Yeah, you see me now, don't.
Rich is just dealing with something at the minute. We know what it is, but he's dealing with something. Rico's man of the match. Are you sorted?
Yep. I'll pick. I'm just waiting for someone to pick. I thought it was the pickup arriving. It wasn't. It was just the dogs.
Your pickup.
Now, one of my daughters is getting picked up, so I'm just
all right. I thought you were picking up the truck.
Pop out and find out what time I've got to pick him up and stuff.
People have gone for Rico. Foden was mint. Man of the match, Perron, piss taker. So Rico, to be honest, was man of the match. Gundo nowhere near man of the match. I thought it was. I thought he ran. He was involved in nearly every single one of our goals, Scotty.
Yeah, no, Gundogan had a great game. Rico had a great game. I mean, Kanji was pretty good. A lot of it. I mean, he cleared up and positioned well. I mean, there was a lot of players who played pretty well. I don't think anyone jumped out a mile. I thought Alvarez had a good game. He was everywhere. He was involved in all the goals. Scored one. Could
have given it to a few today. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was standouts all over.
When I picked Phil, I don't think he was head and shoulders over. You could make those arguments for at least 5 City players.
The good thing is we've closed the gap again. Arsenal opened it up for a little while. We've closed it back up to 2 points. And this is what we've got to do. We've just got to keep on the coattails till we get to that game in a few weeks. Keep it tight. Arsenal got some dodgy away games coming up, and we'll just see what we can do. And what will be, will be.
I think that might be it now.
Right, you do superb. Right, let's move them. Tuesday night, we go to Bristol City in the 5th round of the Emirates FA Cup. What are you thinking then, Richard? I don't know why I'm going with that. What the bloody hell am I talking about here? Carry on. Start again.
What's he you and referring to me as like as bald
I
people?
don't know.
Fat
I'm
and rich
losing
and
the bloody plot.
I know. Bloody hell.
Well,
You're gonna start calling me Aaron Moy or something later on.
I'm so peeved off that they're playing this game midweek.
Yeah, and
Right
before we go on to any sort of hashtag analysis, big shout out to all the Blues that will be travelling to that, because it's not exactly down the road. I mean, you think about it. Even if you organise a bus tour for any supporters club, you're going to be lucky to get back to Manchester by probably 2 a.m.
Any Blues who are taking that trip.
Yeah, big up yourself. Yeah,
I'm telling you now, Bristol is one of the awkwardest. Well, it's not awkward. It's just bloody long. It really is. It really is a long way on a Tuesday. It's a day off work. Travel there. You ain't getting back till, you're saying 2 a.m. I mean, that's 10 o'clock the game finishes. Then they've got to get out of the ground. I'm telling you, mate, you're looking at 5 or 6 in the morning. They're roaming back in.
Yeah.
From Bristol. So any fans making that journey down there, big up yourselves and credit to you.
Yeah.
To go down there on a Tuesday night. And by the way, it is sold out. We are taking a full allocation down there. Bristol City, Ashton Gate is sold out. It's a shame they have charged £48 per ticket for the cheapest ticket in the place. That is a bit of a shocker by Bristol City. And they've also given us a welcoming sign to come in to the city of Bristol. You all seen it?
Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, well, to be fair, after we started the welcoming sign thing with Tevez, so I think
so we deserve it.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, I think we rant about it, but I'm more pissed off with Premier League teams charging 48 quid. I don't blame lower league teams from trying to cash in a bit on sides like City coming. It's just their economic reality. So, I don't blame that as much as I do when Premier League clubs do. I hate it when City cash in on City's fans because we can afford not to. If Bristol City or, Wycombe Wanderers or someone decide to cash in when they play City or Liverpool or United, I get that because they have to. To them, every pound matters. So, and welcoming sign, I mean, what else would we expect? I mean, I think we don't need to be soft about this and just take it. Let it motivate us.
Oh, dear.
I kind of hope for Bristol fans' sake that, City are able to play a relatively strong lineup, if they get a chance to watch Kevin De Bruyne, watch Erling Haaland play. Because as much as it will be supporting their own team, they'll want to see their team come up against the big boys. And I hope if they're going to charge that much money for a midweek cup game, I hope for their sake that we're able to put on a bit of a spectacle and make it entertaining and put the best players out there for them. Well,
Bristol City this year, they're currently sat 13th in the Championship. They did win today. They beat Hull City at home. They're actually unbeaten in the last 5. It might be even longer. No, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
They lost to West Brom on
the last time they lost was Boxing Day. That was the last time they lost.
Consistent team. They're right in the middle of the championship. 11 wins, 11 draws, 11 losses.
And their FA Cup run began when I can get it. They beat Bristol. They beat their Swansea in a replay, 2-1 away at the Liberty Stadium, and then they beat West Brom 3-0 on the 28th of January. And that's what led them to the 5th round. They're unbeaten in nearly 2 months. So should we be taking them as lightly as what maybe some are?
Well,
No, because championship teams away can be as difficult as Premier League teams away, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and especially on a cup run as well too. Midweek as well. They'll be looking to try and get us off our toes. They'll be hoping for like a Southampton away, Southampton away version of us, basically. Yeah. The only thing is though, Rich, I don't know if you think about if this is consideration too with a lot of championship clubs. They've got 13 matches left to play in the season, and they're 9 points off the qualification spots. So they're currently at 44 points after 33 games played. The bottom in sixth place is Luton on 53. They got 9 points. They got 9 points to try and catch up with 13 games at hand. Free hit? I don't know.
I think it's.
Or would they possibly put all their eggs in the qualification basket?
I think it's a free hit. I think I honestly think you've got those players as a manager of that team. If you want to keep your team motivated and doing well in the league, you're not going to motivate a player at Bristol City by denying them the chance to go and play up against the best players, some of the best players in world football. So he's going to have to play his first team. He's going to have to go for it. And what have they got to lose? If they win, they make a name for themselves in Bristol City folklore. The truth is, you go and you knock out the champions from a lower league. That is a game people remember. That's a game those players will talk about playing in for the rest of their lives. So I think you go for it. It's a free hit for them, and therefore they're dangerous. Championship's the hardest league in. I think it's one of the best leagues in world football. The Championship. I think it's. I know this season's a bit of a bit of a runaway at the moment from Company's boys, but generally that league is the atmospheres are great. The football's competitive. You can win or lose every game, and it's a high standard. The Championship's a higher standard than the top league. It's a better league than most of the top leagues in European football, without a doubt.
There's an argument it's the most competitive league in the world.
Yeah, I'd say it's more competitive than the Premier League.
Yeah, and I'd say
there's an argument to say it's the most competitive in the world. Yeah,
and the atmosphere is better than the Premier League by an absolute mile. You watch the Championship and listen to the noise in a lot of the games, better than anything you see in the Premier League. So I think we'll go down there. I think it'll be a massive atmosphere. Probably be one of the biggest. It'll be a bigger atmosphere than you face at Anfield or Old Trafford or Arsenal was good for them this season, but it'll be far bigger atmosphere than we face in the Premier League. Week in, week out. The fans will be loving it. Their fans will be singing for 90 minutes and they've got nothing to lose. So we're going to have to go down there, fire ourselves up and give our all. I don't think we can do anything but that.
When they last went on a cup run was the 2017-18 Carabao Cup. Because I think
when we played in the
semi-final and the atmosphere, just what you hear on the telly.
Okay.
The atmosphere that they put they had against us, and also in the previous round when they knocked out United, was sensational.
Yeah,
it was just on at the full 90 minutes. Yeah,
I find that the best atmospheres I've in recent years, and probably over the last 10, 15 years, best atmospheres we've had have been at games like Cardiff and Bristol City and Stoke. The best atmospheres are from teams,
Peterborough last season was a good atmosphere.
Cardiff was when I was there, mate. It was garbage.
One where they beat us on the first game of the season.
I thought you meant the one in the cup. No,
I'm talking about they beat us in the league on the first or second game of the season.
Was it Pellegrini's first season, I think?
Yeah. And
that
was
when
they had that Malaysian owner come in and he made them all change their
red or something,
red to blue to red,
But we, so I think it'll be the biggest atmosphere we've had this season.
Okay, let me throw this
maybe Villa.
We're in all three competitions.
Yep.
Is this the old adage of take one game at a time and see where we land, or is this third priority?
I think it's.
And I don't mean to fans. To fans, I understand the history of the FA Cup. And we all want to win it. I get that. Talking about to the club and the players.
Well, it is not going to be. I don't think any way we look at it, it is not going to be as important as the Champions League or the Premier League. So
what? All right, well, that affects his team Tuesday night.
Well, I think the fact that we got to rest quite a few players today, in terms of the substitutes we made. I think the fact that we started with, quite a few players today who wouldn't necessarily have been who we'd think would necessarily start in our first team. I think it means we'll play a pretty strong team. I think the fact we rotated as much as we did today says that we'll rotate again, and we might well see De Bruyne, we might well see Laporte, we might well, we'll probably see Kyle Walker. I think we'll see them against Bristol City.
I think Pep will be hoping for a repeat sort of performance in what we had against Bournemouth, because he'll want to give his mainstay players as much rest as he can, whether that's the full game or half an hour or so, like we did against Bournemouth. Because let's not forget, we've got a big match coming up next weekend against Newcastle, and he'll want his top players on peak performance and ready to go for that game.
Yeah.
I'm just responding back to FIFA. Just give me a minute. Right. The only reason I'm asking is, Ali, let's just make every game parity. Let's win 3. That'll be amazing. I'm just thinking of do we do what we did last season? Carry on in the Champions League, hit an FA Cup semi-final at Wembley, have Real Madrid say 3 days later, and Pep rolls out an average team in the semi-final, and we've all wasted our time down there. Because this is what we did last season.
Yeah, but that
you can see it coming to that.
It all depends on whether.
Because I'd rather go out now if we're going to do that.
Yeah, but the trouble is you can't make that call now, because the reason we've seen that in recent years is because we've had 5 or 6 players out injured and a lot of players very fatigued. If we don't have those injuries and fatigue, we wouldn't see that happen in the semi-final. So, you can't just do what teams do and write off a competition like the FA Cup because you assume you're going to have 6 injuries later in the season. Because if you don't, you'll desperately want the FA Cup to get players games and get it done. So I'd say you keep going for it. And I'm a firm believer that you don't want to write off trophies, because if Newcastle win today, that will change the mentality of that club. That will change the mindset of that club. And I find it gobsmacking that teams like Villa and Spurs and things seem to write off cups and not go for that win, because winning, don't get this wrong, if we hadn't won the FA Cup in 2011, we wouldn't have won the league in 2012. If Newcastle want to be competing and winning stuff, first they're going to win a domestic cup, then they're going to win something else, then they're going to move forward. And we might not win the league. We might not win the league, and we might not win the league this year. We might not win the Champions League, but if we win the FA Cup, we still won something. We still won something big. We still won something.
Rich, Newcastle have Carrius in that, mate. They ain't got no chance.
Hey, don't knock an ex-blue.
Don't start with the ex-blue crap.
He'll be fired up,
Wow.
You'll never walk alone unless you carry us in a European Champions League final. And then you walk everywhere alone. Yeah. Good evening, Vater. Thank you for joining us, mate. At least you've got home safe. Everyone was concerned about you driving and messaging at the same time.
Yeah, no, I never messaged while driving. I was like physically at a stop at a lot of times.
Someone found the mountains.
It's go-karting on a main road over there. Trust me, I've done it. It ain't driving.
Someone found the Mounties. And
anyone who's driven,
you've got a couple of Mounties out there looking for you.
The Mounties went after me
trotting down the street
with my dog sled. With my dog sled going through the country.
Yeah. Hey, my dad used to live in Canada. He used to live in which part was it?
In Ontario?
No. My grandfather's from Winnipeg.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've been out there a few times.
Yeah, it was where they get like 20 foot of snow outside the house and everything. Yeah.
Winters are harsh and summers have the biggest horse flies you could imagine. Summers are rough
but
as well.
honestly, I've driven in America and over in Canada. It's not driving. It's literally just, it's like I said, it's go-karting on a road. They don't have clutches and all that.
Yeah.
I'd love to see.
Imagine Martin drive. I've got a tank slap out again.
It's like, hey,
Our highways are big, man. It allows us to drive fast, 100%.
Do you have lane driving over there? Because I know they just zoom from everywhere.
Yeah, of course. Of course, we got lanes.
I drove from Toronto to Montreal before and after a festival. I'll tell you what, I've never bricked it for so long in my life.
Off on a side story, yeah.
In torrential rain, too. It was horrible.
First time I drove in America, no one told me about undertaking was legally allowed over there. No one told me about that, and they never told me about the turning right on red. And I literally was going mad at everyone because everyone was undertaking me, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" Because I'm out in the middle of Interstate 4 and Interstate 75, wondering what was going on. Going, what?
The hardest thing in the States is having the bloody traffic light hanging down in the middle. Our first day, I drove in the States. I went through about 10 red lights because you're looking to the side of the road for the red light. You don't see it, and the next thing you nearly hit someone because you're going through because the light's above your head.
Yeah. Anyway, Vader, we're talking Bristol City on Tuesday night, and the importance, as much as we love, especially me, I love the FA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to say something I never thought I'd say. If we went out Tuesday, I wouldn't be overly crying.
Whoa. What? If we went out on Tuesday, you wouldn't be overly upset. Is this the same man that was furious last year when we went out in the semifinals?
Yes, no, but that's my point, right? I don't want to go all the way to Wembley again, travel all the way down there, to travel all the way back for pointless, and then get knocked out by Real Madrid 3 days later.
I want us to win an FA Cup. The FA Cup is our, even more than the Champions League in a way. The FA Cup is a massive underachievement.
We've only won 2 in 15 years. That's poor for what we have.
I want an FA Cup.
I'm scarred from last season.
Yes, but being scarred doesn't mean let me not invest and have my heart broken now.
I travelled all that way to Wembley. I had the piss take. I had a Liverpool fan knocking on my car door, laughing at me.
So tell me this: which one's harder to travel to, Bristol or Wembley?
Oh,
imagine. Bristol. The fans going to Bristol deserve a win. They deserve a win.
Yeah. No, listen. Ideally, listen. You know me. If I had a choice out of the three, I'd want the FA Cup and the league.
Yeah. Let's be quite honest.
But I know the club want the Champions League.
Yeah. We've won 2 fewer FA Cups than Spurs.
Definitely.
That has to be put right. Until we've won another 3 and we've won more FA Cups than Spurs.
I'm getting killed in the comments.
There we go. There's at least one of us here who's still bitter about 81.
The worst thing is, it's not just the Rags winning a quadruple. I've seen the bloody newspapers calling it the quadruple. I mean, when did the quadruple involve a bloody failures cup? I mean, if you can count the Europa League, you can count the bloody Central League.
I'm getting killed.
Central League North.
Look, Ray Martinelli, they're all giving me an L. They're killing me.
Bloody well,
I'll change it.
The FA Cup is the history of football.
Yeah, I know, Rich. I agree. Martin Horsfield wants the FA Cup. 1,000% I do.
Yeah, but you can't talk about yourself in the third person. That is the first.
I know, Pet. I know what he's going to frigging do. We don't have the squad, Rich, to win the league, the Champions League, and the FA Cup. We just don't.
Well, we go for it.
You need a bit of luck.
We go for it, and we come out of this season at least with an FA Cup.
I'm getting killed. People are killing me. Right. I want the FA Cup. Screw the Champions League. I want the FA Cup. There you go.
We can't concede the
Martin,
FA Cup.
if you want us giving up on competitions, you should be supporting.
Don't stop.
You should be supporting Spurs or Villa.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it now. So Martin is saying, let's put all of our eggs in the basket for the league and the Champions League.
No, I want the league. Out of all three of them, I want the league.
Yep.
That's the one I want. The league, to me, is the be-all and the end-all. It's your bread and butter. It's a three-peat. We have to win that for me.
Yeah,
I want that more than ever. Then I want the FA Cup. Then I'll take the Champions League. That's me, Martin Horsfield.
Yeah, but you can't reinvent the calendar though, because we win the FA before.
I'm going to go up because he said I'm talking about me the third person.
We are going to have some kind of beeping machine. If anyone talks about themselves in the third person, we're going to beep it out because it's
right. I want all three. All right, then. I'll tell you what. We'll do it this way. Give me a minute.
Is he beeping himself out?
Oh, God.
Oh, hold on. I can't see that.
He's just changed his name.
Oh, jeez.
You know, that's actually a better attitude than saying,
I want the treble. Let's go for it then.
That's a better attitude. You know what?
You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah. I mean, the FA Cup, Neil Young, Bert Troutman, the FA Cup, we've got to take it seriously. We've got
so
to
you
win
want the FA Cup over the league? Over the three-peat?
No, I want the double, the domestic double. The real double. The FA Cup League.
Why can't we have all three? We're Manchester City.
We're going to go for the Champions League whether we like it or not. So the fact if we go for the double, we might get the treble. I just have a feeling that the year we win when English teams win the Champions League, they normally do it when they're doing terribly in the Premier League. Like Chelsea, Liverpool, etc. have won it when they couldn't even make the top four. And so I suspect that, our best chance of winning the Champions League is if we're third in the Premier League and not going well. And we can afford to really focus on it. But
no, I don't want to lose Tuesday. I don't want to lose Tuesday. I don't. Screw it. Let's go. Martin out, Alan in. Look, see what I mean? They're all turning on me now. No, at the end of the day, screw it. I want the treble. Go out there on Tuesday and win.
Yeah.
But I would rest Haaland. I think Kevin De Bruyne plays. Laporte, I think, might play.
Sorry, forgive me. We play on Tuesday, and then we play again on Saturday or Sunday?
Yeah.
Saturday? Okay. Yeah. It's a good break.
Plenty of time.
I think Kevin will play.
Yeah.
I think if Stones is fit, that could be his comeback game.
I think Laporte will get some game time.
Mm-hmm.
I think Walker. I think Lewis might have earned his place against Newcastle, especially after Walker gets Newcastle. So I think
Walker plays.
we'll see Walker start. I think it might be like, it might be something like Walker, Stones, Laporte, Ake, or something.
I don't think Perron plays either. Believe it or not, I'm going to shock you now because I think Calvin Phillips plays, Bernardo Silva plays, and I think Perron will come on as a substitute.
Yeah, I think it'll be Phillips, Bernardo, De Bruyne. I think we might rest.
I'd like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be them. And then I think, up front, it'll probably depend who he thinks he's going to play. But I think he might cash in on Phil. He might start the same front three. But I have a sneaky feeling that Haaland might be the one who gets a rest.
Yeah, give Haaland a rest. Yeah,
and it'll be Alvarez, something like Alvarez.
Alvarez has to start on Tuesday. He's 1,000% got to start on Tuesday. Julian Alvarez. He's got to. And the only thing I just think we've got to remember, Bristol City have not lost a game in about 2 months. 2 months. The last time they lost a game was Boxing Day. That is huge in the Championship. I mean, to be only 13th's thing. It tells you where they must have been at the beginning.
Yeah, they've drawn quite a few of the games.
Nigel Pearson's still their manager.
I thought he wasn't, but I'm not actually sure who their manager is, so I'll just look it up.
Just double check. Let me know in the comments. I think Ortega starts because he's cut goaler.
Yeah.
So that will make 9% of the fan base happy. Until he drops a bollock, and then everyone will start, oh, we bring back Edison. Everyone's checking now. Manager at Bristol.
Yeah, it's Nigel Pearson.
So it
is Nigel Pearson, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you an ostrich? Are you an ostrich?
Be interesting,
Rick,
we're going from a crowd of 11,000 today against Bournemouth to what'll be it's nearly 30,000, I think, Ashton Gate. So it's going to be a tasty atmosphere.
48 quid. You're having a laugh. You're having a laugh. You're having a laugh. 48 quid. You're having a laugh.
That said, with inflation at the moment, it'll be 55 next year.
The football pyramid.
Where are you at with this? Are you and me? Are we having the treble?
See, I don't go that far. I don't go that. I really, and I know it sounds boring. I know it's terrible, but the competition in front of me is the competition I honestly am focused on. When we were knocked out of the Carabao Cup, I was upset. I wanted us to continue to win when we can win. And I want this FA win on Tuesday. I want this win, whether it impacts us on how we make decisions within the league and Champions League down the road, we'll deal with it down the road. But I want us to go out and win this game, put out the best possible team for us to have, and win this game on Tuesday. The whole treble or domestic double treble talk, let's win one at a time. The great thing about the calendar is we can't envision doing anything until we've won the FA Cup. We can't envision doing anything beyond that until we win the next one in front of us.
It's not typical City, though, to be charged with 115 Premier League charges with over four counts.
Yeah.
So our players having a bit of a tiff in the back room. So the fans all having a meltdown. Would it just not be Manchester City to go and win all three trophies and just shut everybody up?
What would be really funny, and I thought,
you know how weird that is, though.
What will happen? What will happen is we'll win the Champions League the season we get points deducted. So it will just not matter to us because we'll go in as champions. It'll probably be like the media darlings, who miss out. And we get in by winning it, and then it's like, see ya.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Yeah,
madness. Right. So, Rich, you think we're going through on Tuesday?
I do. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be a 2-1 or something. I think we're going to get there, but it's going to be It's going to be a late win, and it's going to be a close game. We're going to go through by 1 goal. And I wouldn't even be surprised if we go through after extra time. I think it's going to be, a tough one.
Okay. Is there replays in the fifth? I'm going to just have a look.
I thought there wasn't.
Yeah, there's always replays in the FA Cup. It's only Carabao that they've gone straight to pens.
Yeah, but is it extra time and then a replay, or is it just a replay?
No, just a replay.
Is it okay? Well, it won't go to extra
time.
FA
Cup size this season, replay up until the quarter-final stage.
Right.
With the exception of the 5th round for reasons mentioned above. So, due to fixture congestion caused by the FA Cup, the FA have squeezed the FA round into a midweek schedule, meaning that stage of the competition will go straight to extra time or penalties.
So it will go to extra time.
Right.
There are no replays in the 5th round.
Yeah.
There you go.
Intense.
So it ends at Ashton Gate on Tuesday.
2-1, 2-1 after extra time. 107th minute winner.
Bloody hell, the City fans are getting back 2 days later if it goes into extra time.
Extra time and then 11 penalties for each side. It'll be about midnight.
Jesus. We're getting back 7 hours later. Treble pessimist.
Yeah.
Are we going through? Are we into the quarters?
Yeah, we're going through.
Oh,
3-1, 3-1. They'll equalise at some point in the first half and that, but we'll just be too dominant.
The last time Rich's Dogs did that is when I predicted we were going to win against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, they always think we're going to lose, but then they're Oxford fans, so they're all right with it.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you guys. I think we're going through. I think the great thing about how the team was managed today, we can see a whole variety of players starting, and they can all be, strong first teamers in a sense, right? So I'd be excited to see from the younger side, maybe who hasn't gotten much time, is actually Cole Palmer. See if there's an opportunity for him there. With the rest, the other names you guys mentioned, I'm fully on board with, and yeah, won't quite predict the score until I see the lineup, but I'm predicting a win.
I don't think it is. I don't think we see.
We know for sure that City's going through on the night anyway.
The only reason I don't think we'll see Cole Palmer is because of, even though it's Bristol City, they're unbeaten in 2 months. They're at home. And Pep will want to win this.
Well, Pep only ever plays 1 or 2 kids, and Cole Palmer's not probably top of the list to play at the moment.
No. I don't think he is. Sadly. That's why I don't think Perone starts. I think there's too many in front of it to start. Like Bernardo, Mahrez probably all deserve a start. But I guess we'll see. I don't know if there will be a watch along on Tuesday. I will let you know what time I get back from the hospital. Next Thursday, we are going to talk about Newcastle, but I want to do a show on. I'm either going to do it on the fans or I'm going to do it on something else that I want to talk about. There might be a bonus show. I want to do a show on Liverpool United versus City and Newcastle in terms of the difference in media, the difference in everything. Because the way this United takeover has been talked about and the Liverpool one, that never happened, was a little bit different compared to City and Newcastle. In terms of the guy who was going to take over at United, not the guitarist, the local businessman. What's he called?
Radcliffe,
who was made out to be a staunch Man United. Yeah. The guy was made out to be a staunch United fan when he actually had a season ticket at Stamford Bridge for 20-odd years and was going to buy Chelsea off Roman Abramovich beforehand. Yeah, there's a lot of stories going out that are just wrong.
Be interesting to see as well, because fundamentally Radcliffe has made all his money in petrochemicals. So whether it's not digging it out the ground, but fundamentally he's an oil man. He's just in the production of chemicals. So it'll be very interesting to see whether, immoral oil money is only immoral if it's, not white oil money. Because it seems to me like Arsenal's owner owns a lot of oil wells in the United States, but that's not oil money, apparently. And apparently if you're sponsored by Dubai, that's not oil money either. So there is an incredible level of hypocrisy. Yeah. And apparently one thing I did hear this week out in Dubai is apparently there's quite a bit of concern at the government level about the Premier League effectively accusing one of the world's biggest sovereign wealth funds chairman of fraud, and which is not far off what they've done, and how much Britain relies on money coming in from the sovereign wealth funds in the Middle East, to build the buildings in London, to build the centres of cities. So it's actually...
Why don't we park that for Thursday night? Why don't we park that for
Richie,
Thursday
save your
night?
rant. Richie, save
You've
it.
got some great info.
Save some bullets, Rich.
No, it's not. It's not insider info or anything like that. It's
No,
just,
I don't mean it's inside, but
word on the street.
I think we'll do something on it, because I don't just want Thursday night. I want to get back to not just doing previews. We can do Newcastle, but I want to get 2 or 3 topics going again, which I think would be good to really chow down into. But we'll discuss it Tuesday night. But also, it won't be this week, it'll be the week after. I want to do a show on the fan base as well, but I wanted to do it in a respectful manner and a manner that doesn't come across bad to new or old fans. I want it to be done in a very respectful manner as well. So I want to do that as well. I'm going to get the 9320 Pubcast lads on for that, as well as anyone else who wants to join. But anyway, that concludes our show for this evening. Manchester City have closed the gap on Arsenal after a 4-1 smashing down at, it's not called Dean Court anymore, is it? The Vitality Stadium, as it's now all called.
Sorry, do you know what the point differential is? The goal differential, because we got to keep track of that. 10?
10 to 9. 9 or 10. It was, I'll tell you now.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think that's going to be important.
And I mean, just one other question: do we think that Haaland's going to beat?
Goal difference of 10. They're on plus 29. We're on plus 39.
Is Haaland going to beat Tommy Johnson's record? Do we think this season?
You tell me.
I don't know. I'm asking that question. I mean, what is it? 12 goals he's got to get.
Yeah, I think he's got 20. I mean, are we talking league or are we talking everything?
I think it's league goals. I thought Tommy Johnson
was on 27
league goals record. Didn't Tommy Johnson have our league score 38 or something like that?
I thought it was 34.
He's beaten Aguero.
No, 34 is the Premier League record by Alan Shearer and Andy Cole.
Yeah,
I think City's league goal scoring record. I'm sure. I'll have to look. I
thought it was Johnny Lee.
No, I think it's much earlier than that. I think it's back in the, before the war.
During the war.
Before the war.
I said during the war. I was
back
doing
when I was a kid.
Uncle Albert. I was doing an Uncle Albert, Rich.
Right.
Ruined it.
I'm going to have to look it up now.
Anyway, Pat, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, mate.
Tell everyone where you are, mate.
MCFC Sydney on Facebook, at MCFC Sydney Blues on Instagram. Early Bird Podcast is on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Facebook. As mentioned in previous shows, we got to get everybody back together, and of course we'll be having a plan is to hopefully have a nice big old mega show and just talk about everything that's been happening in the world of City over the last couple of weeks and what's to come.
Good
Flag
man.
records.
Go and show him a lot of love at the Early Birds. Ian, Dana, Jeff, Rich, myself will be on there again. Go and show him a lot of love. SoundCloud, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
I know. I was wrong. Tommy Johnson's was all got goals in all comps. His record, not Premier, not
mate.
league.
Where can everyone find you, mate?
Oh, it's real easy. You see the Twitter tag right there, Vader Games. On YouTube, it's Vader Games TV. And the show once a week is Why Always Me. Please continue to subscribe to the Mancunian Way. And if you happen to stumble upon my channel, give it a watch. You like what you see, hit that like button and subscribe. I do a show once a week, and I often get a chance to have some great features like Martin on there. I'm looking to get, timing allows, I'm hoping to get Rich as well as Patrick in the future. Maybe I'll adjust my start time for a show, but love to have you guys on.
For sure, mate.
And have you got a show tomorrow there?
I do have a show tomorrow, so hit that notification button, 9 p.m. UK time. I'm looking to debut a new show, new format. I'm excited for it. It's going to be a little raw because it's going to be a debut, kind of like a pilot, but I'm excited for it. And I'm hoping.
What actually we're doing.
Don't worry. The script or the outline will be sent over, and
Right.
I think
okay.
the
Cheers.
format's going to be low.
Oh, no. I was going to text you later going, mate, you're out there.
Yeah, no, it's going to be real simple.
Like, yeah. Because I'm
Yeah,
like,
that's going to be great.
I'll explain later anyway. Anyway, Rich, you know where everyone can find you.
Yeah.
Sub 2, City Extra in the Mancunian Way wants to know why you're not making a YouTube channel.
We've talked about it. I think
The Irish YouTube channel.
We have talked. Danny and I have talked about it, and I think it's once we get a bit more consistency going with the audio podcast, then we'll certainly consider moving on to YouTube. So, don't think we haven't thought about it. Sub 2, we're certainly something for the long term.
But at the minute, you'll notice we're basically the YouTube for them, and they're basically the podcast for us, and we're sort of aligning with each other because you'll notice me and Rich are now on theirs, and they're on ours.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Sub 2.
It does indeed.
Not that Rich stays around for arguments on the early bit because he pisses off after 5 minutes.
Sometimes you've just got to drop the mic and move on.
You didn't even debate
It was
properly.
a hit and run, man. That was an absolute hit and run.
I don't even exactly. It was the biggest hit and run going.
Yeah.
And it's
You
been
didn't even stop at the intersection. You just went straight through.
No, listen to this.
I didn't even bother to stop and reverse back over him, which I normally do.
Rich, come close to the camera. Bit of breaking news for you.
I've seen what Jack Gordon said, and that is
and
pure
Sam Lake said the days of Sane and Sterling as those type of wingers are over.
Yeah, but that just shows you missed the point, Martin.
No, it isn't. No, it doesn't.
That was no. You are just stereotyping that you can only be quick if you play like Sané or Sterling. You can be fast and have pace and be a very different player to that. So that just shows you missed the point.
No, it's not. You just changed the question when you got your answer wrong.
This is why we haven't done a show.
Reversing back over. You have to start reversing back over next time.
It's like painting the harbour bridge. It's a never-ending situation.
Yeah. You can tell we all get on. Thanks to all you guys in the chat in the studio. Hit the thumbs up before you go. Definitely. There was 80 odd and we're nowhere near that in the likes. So smash the likes. It does help your channel. And it will always be your channel. Brilliant stream, lads. 2 hours, fair play. Thank you. Sweet mate, looking forward to it. Aussies, oi.
Danny Allsop, generational talent.
I saw him score.
I need a tumbleweed sort of thing going across. I saw him score, which tells you a lot.
Yeah.
I saw Barry Conlon score as well, Rich. Doesn't mean he made him a bloody superstar. Saw Jerry Craney score a goal as well.
Did you see Danny Tiato fight both the City and Norwich bench?
Oh God, here he goes now. Danny Tiato, the only claim of fame we got.
Yeah. I saw Simon Colosime playing as a pet.
Oh, he's on about Simon. He's going to mention Jason. Jason will be up in a minute. Jason Van Blurk.
Wait, you would have seen Matt. I'm sure you would have seen David Oldfield score in the Main Road Massacre.
He's the one who gets forgotten.
Yeah, because he scored in the Main Road Massacre, didn't he?
Yeah, but he does get forgotten though. That's the problem, though.
Yeah, I think it's because people don't remember that he was born in Perth, in WA, and I think he still lives there.
Yeah. No, he was the very famous Aussie for us.
It was the first. He was the first Australian. It was the first
far better player than Craig Johnson.
Super City's on about Alan Kernahan. He wasn't even a footballer. Get off, Super City.
He was. I remember that cracker he scored.
No, shut up, Rick. Don't even defend
Alan Kernahan 30-metre shot into the top corner. All
right, man.
Top bins, Curdy.
Do you know the best player we ever had? And he wasn't Australian. The best player we never signed permanently was
Daniel
Maurizio
Van
Gandino. Maurizio Gandino.
Yeah.
Absolute superb player. We never got him on a permanent.
Yeah.
Scored the winner against Liverpool on Good Friday. What a player. And we never got him. What's a haircut? He had hair like...
Yeah.
You know,
that because we it sold a few cars to the other players.
Super City's put that Galdino was a car thief. Stop it.
Didn't he get sentenced for years in prison after he left City? I thought he got like sent down for a long stretch for something involving cars.
Put you down for a long stretch.
He was class, but you know, we'll be talking about Stefan Karl.
BMW, man.
What did you think of Stefan Karl?
Of his 2 appearances in May?
Yeah, we had some great players.
He was better than Ray Ingram. I don't know where you want me to go with that one, Rich. You know, Stefan Karl.
This is a show on its own.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about
This would be 2 hours of just complete.
Are you lot too young? Are you lot too young to remember Gordon DeLille?
Rich, what did you think of Scott Hiley or John Foster?
Scott Hiley, it was disappointing that Scott Hiley never quite made it. He didn't quite have the. We just didn't fit in like Birmingham for him.
Me and Rich are just going off on a dinosaur rant here.
The one who's always been the source of disappointment to me that he never became, the next Dixie Dean was Paul Molden. I was convinced he was going to score 500 goals for City when he came in.
Don't care. Michel Vonk, best defender we ever had.
Love Michel. Well, best centre forward we ever had. I liked it when he played number 9.
If you guys ever do a show like this,
Michel
Vonk. Done in periods. It has to be a phone call on loudspeaker, recorded over a cassette tape.
Yeah.
Copies made, and if anybody wants the episode, it has to be sent out by snail mail.
Let's be quite clear.
See, Alec Johnson's talking about people now. We've got
Michel
people talked about.
Yeah, Michel Vonk was the. If you took Erling Haaland and then you took Emerick Laporte and you forged them together into a super footballer, equally at home at centre back or at centre forward, Michel Vonk, that was your man.
Could he do both in the same game?
No.
He could.
I don't know if I've ever seen him. He had the best nose ever in football. He had a nose for football.
He should have been a swimmer. He could have been like Michael Phelps or
he could smell trouble. As my dad used to say, he could smell trouble a mile away, Michel Vonk. That's funny because his nose was so huge.
So Richie's Michel Vonk's like the Bill Laurie of football, is he?
Oh no! Right, you're getting me all excited now. We're talking about Bish now.
Yeah, it's the Garfield. It's the Garfield Sobers of football.
Oh.
Michael Feeney's talking about the first £10 million player.
Right, not good enough to be Bradman.
He could battle bowl.
Do you remember this guy, Rich? The first £10 million player, according to the long.
But that was the manager. He didn't rate the manager.
Don't think ill of the dead, Rich.
I can think ill of some dead.
On that note, we're leaving before Alan Ball's family start sending death threats to us. Rich, you can't say that.
I don't think ill of him as a human being. I do think ill of him as a football manager, though.
Southampton love him.
Yeah, but that's
former World Cup winner.
Yeah.
But we need to go. This is going
and apparently that's what he said to the players after most games. Like, you were sick, but I won the World Cup. That was his team.
Show me your World Cup because I got one.
I really enjoyed today's 6-0 battering because it was beautiful to see the way the other team played.
Do you remember that at Anfield when he come out after that?
That's when he lost me.
He come out after Anfield, he went, the opposition were beautiful. What? We got beat 6-0. What do you mean the opposition were beautiful, you prat?
Yeah.
Don't ever say that. And didn't we get beat 4-0 in the same week in the cup as well, Bayern?
And then he showed the team his medal or something after they just lost 4-0.
I think we conceded 10 goals in a week to Liverpool in 2 competitions, and he was showing everyone his World Cup medal. Right, great. Anyway, we're going because this is way off the scales. We're back on Tuesday night. I'll let you know if there's a watch along, but we'll be back with the Bristol City watch along. I apologise for me and Rich going down memory lane for 10 minutes. Pat and Vater have just looked what's going on here.
Eyes are glazed over.
Apologies, gentlemen.
No, it's all fun.
That's what happens when Rich comes on. Rich, why have you got I Hate Wickham?
Because you changed it.
Anyway, take
I
care.
would have put that, but I didn't put it.
You'll all start learning. Vater, don't know if you know, mate, you've got control of everyone's names.
So, but Vater,
I did not know that.
Vater, we'll reminisce about Canada next time, and we can chat about Terry Dunfield.
We will chat all Canada, and this calling the Mounties to fight to get a hold of me. I'm going to correct you guys next time on that one.
Super City, I'm not reading that one out. It's rude.
I got to drop off though, guys.
Yes, take care. We're going.
Bye.
See you on Tuesday.
See you, Vader. See you,
Take
everyone.
care, guys. Thanks for having me.
Smash that like. See you later. But bloody hell, Rich doesn't even wait, does he? We're not even off yet. Rich is gone. Bloody hell. Sorry about that. Rich was desperate to get off. See you all.
He likes that hit and run, doesn't he? Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.